Hello. I'll never forget the look on her face that night. You know that kind of smirk someone gets when they think they've got the upper hand? Like a poker player laying down what they think is an unbeatable hand. That was my wife, Alyssa. We'd been together 8 years, married for 3. And in that time, I'd convinced myself I knew her better than anyone. Turns out, I was dead wrong. The night it all cracked open wasn't anything special at first. Friday evening, I came home from work, ordered some takeout, and we sat across from each other at the kitchen table. She was quiet. Not the good kind of quiet where someone's tired, but the sharp-edged quiet that means something's coming. Her fork clinked against the plate. Her eyes darted everywhere but me. I could feel it in my gut before she even opened her mouth. Something was off. When she finally spoke, it wasn't a confession. It was a challenge. She leaned back in her chair, swirled her wine, and said, almost too casually, "You know, I slept with your best friend. What are you going to do now?" No tears, no shame, just that damn smirk. I froze, but not in the way she expected. Because here's the thing. Deep down, I'd suspected something for months. The late nights, the sudden secrecy with her phone, the way she dressed a little sharper when she said she was just meeting friends. And my best friend, Matt, he'd been acting different too. Less eye contact, less joking around, always quick to leave when she was around. I had my suspicions, but hearing her say it out loud, that was confirmation. It didn't hurt the way I thought it would. Instead, it felt like a door I'd been leaning against suddenly swung open, and I didn't fall. I just walked through. I leaned back, matched her smirk with one of my own, and said the words that must have gutted her. Thank him. He just took my trash out for me. For a split second, the look in her eyes changed. The satisfaction drained, replaced by something I hadn't seen in years, doubt. She thought she'd drop a nuke on my world and watch me beg, cry, rage. Instead, I shrugged off the weight she wanted to crush me with. And that was the beginning. The moment I realized her betrayal wasn't the end of me. It was the end of her hold over me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand why I reacted that way, you've got to know what led up to it. The signs I ignored, the cracks I papered over, the nights I told myself I was just being paranoid. You've got to know the story of how a marriage built on trust slowly turned into a house of cards. And why, when she smirked with her confession, I didn't flinch. Because by then, I'd already started letting her go. You know how people always say, looking back, the signs were there? Yeah, that's me, kicking myself for months of ignoring the obvious. Alyssa and I weren't always like this. When we first met, she was electric. She could walk into a room and make everyone turn their head, not because she was the most beautiful woman in the world, though I sure thought so, but because she radiated this energy like she knew exactly who she was. And I ate it up. Back then, Matt was cheering me on, saying I'd outkicked my coverage. Maybe I did. But somewhere between then and now, things shifted. It started small. She used to leave her phone lying around, unlocked, face up on the counter. Suddenly, it was always face down, and she kept it in her pocket, even in sweatpants. When I'd ask who she was texting, she'd brush me off with, just work stuff. Alyssa worked in marketing. Nobody needs to text their coworkers at midnight. Then came the gym. She hadn't stepped foot in one since college, but out of nowhere, she bought new leggings, joined a boutique place across town, and started going 5 times a week. Don't get me wrong, I was proud of her for focusing on herself, but I couldn't ignore how she always came home showered, hair perfect, smelling like perfume instead of sweat. And then there was Matt. He'd been my best friend since high school. We'd survived bad haircuts, cheap beer, and broken hearts together. He was the guy who stood next to me at the altar, who knew my family better than most of my cousins. But slowly, he stopped dropping by unannounced, stopped texting me to grab a beer. When he did show up, he barely looked at me, but his eyes lingered on Alyssa just a little too long. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Hell, I wanted to believe I was paranoid. It was easier than admitting that my wife and my best friend were slipping into something behind my back. So, I buried the doubts. I kept showing up for dinners, date nights, family gatherings like everything was normal. I played the role of the good husband because I thought maybe, just maybe, if I held it together, the storm would pass. But the storm didn't pass. It grew. I remember one night, about 2 months before her little smirk and confess moment, I came home early from work. Alyssa was in the living room, phone in hand, smiling in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. When she noticed me, she fumbled with her screen like a kid caught sneaking candy before dinner. "Just watching a funny video," she said. Her laugh didn't match her eyes. I asked her casually, "Want to show me?" She shot back too quickly. "You wouldn't get it." That was the first time I felt the pit in my stomach turn into something heavier. And with Matt, the final straw before the confession was when he bailed on my birthday dinner. My best friend. The guy who'd never missed one in 20 years. His excuse? Work. Alyssa covered for him, saying something about a late meeting. I knew better. So when she leaned across that dinner table weeks later, smirked, and said she'd slept with him, it didn't crush me. It confirmed me. And instead of breaking, I leaned back and thanked her for taking out my trash. She wasn't expecting that. I could see it in the way her smirk faltered, just a hair. She wanted devastation. She got indifference. And in that split second, I realized something. She hadn't just cheated on me. She'd underestimated me. And that, honestly, was the bigger betrayal. Silence. That's what followed my line. You'd think after dropping a bomb like, "I slept with your best friend," she'd be ready for fireworks. Yelling, broken dishes, maybe me storming out. But instead, I just leaned back in my chair, cool as stone, and thanked her. The air in the room changed. Her smirk cracked for the first time, and in its place was something I hadn't seen in years: hesitation. She blinked, tilted her head like she was trying to read me, and let out this short, nervous laugh. "That's it? That's all you've got to say?" she asked. I sipped my drink, kept my eyes steady. "What else is there? You just admitted your garbage, and Matt was dumb enough to take out the trash for me. Honestly, I should be sending him a thank you card." Her face flushed red. Not from guilt, but from anger. See, she wasn't trying to confess. She was trying to provoke. Alyssa wanted me on my knees, begging, screaming, doing anything to prove she still mattered. Instead, I shrugged her off like a used napkin. That cut deeper than any rage ever could. "You're unbelievable," she spat. "You don't even care? Do I mean that little to you?" That one made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because of the twisted irony. She cheats on me, then gets upset that I'm not devastated enough? The mental gymnastics would have impressed an Olympic judge. "Alyssa," I said calmly, "you're the one who stepped out. You're the one who decided our marriage wasn't enough. Don't act shocked when I take you at your word." She slammed her wine glass down so hard I thought it might shatter. "You're just cold. I thought you'd fight for me. For us." There it was, the truth bleeding out. She didn't confess because she wanted honesty. She confessed because she wanted power. She wanted to see me crawl, to see if she still had control. Instead, I just snatched that power out of her hands. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Fight for you? Why would I fight for someone who already chose someone else? You didn't just cheat, Alyssa. You auditioned my best friend for the role of my replacement. Congratulations, he won. Enjoy the prize." Her eyes narrowed. I could see the storm building behind them. But the thing about storms is, once you know it's coming, it doesn't scare you as much. She stood up, grabbed her phone, and muttered, "You're going to regret this." I shrugged, speared another bite of my dinner, and said, "I already regret marrying you. Everything else is just details." That one hit. She froze mid-step, shoulders stiff, before storming out of the dining room. I heard the bedroom door slam upstairs. For the first time in months, I sat there alone, and instead of feeling hollow, I felt free. Like I'd finally dropped a weight I didn't even know I'd been carrying. But freedom isn't clean. It's messy, full of fallout. And the fallout was coming fast. Because if there's one thing I knew about Alyssa, it was this: she hated losing. And in that moment, she'd lost control of me, which meant she was about to get desperate. And when desperate people make moves, things tend to break. That night after she stormed upstairs, the house went quiet. Too quiet. Normally, Alyssa would stomp around, slam another door, maybe throw some clothes into a bag for dramatic effect. But this time, nothing. Just silence. I finished my dinner in peace. That probably sounds cold, but I wasn't about to let her tantrum ruin my appetite. After I cleaned up, I sat on the couch and waited. Eventually, I heard faint footsteps above me. Then, the unmistakable vibration of her phone buzzing over and over. She was texting someone. I didn't need to guess who. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, my phone lit up. Not from her. From Matt. "Bro, can we talk?" "Talk about what?" "I didn't want you to find out like this." "So you didn't want me to find out, just on your terms?" It wasn't supposed to mean anything. I laughed out loud at that. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. Like that was supposed to make it better. This guy had been in my life since we were 15. He knew my parents, my siblings, even my stupid high school crush stories. And now he was trying to minimize sleeping with my wife as if it were some drunken accident? Please. I didn't answer him. Silence was my best weapon. Instead, I powered off my phone and went to bed in the guest room, leaving Alyssa to stew in the master bedroom by herself. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen to find her already there, makeup done, coffee in hand, like she was trying to play the role of calm wife. She didn't even look up when she spoke. We need to talk. We already did. Don't be childish. What you said last night was cruel. Cruel? You cheated on me with my best friend. And you're mad that I didn't cry hard enough about it? Her face twisted. She set her cup down and tried another tactic. It was a mistake, okay? It didn't mean anything. We were drunk. It just happened. Stop. Don't insult my intelligence. You've been sneaking around for months. Mistakes don't happen multiple times in hotel rooms or over secret texts. Mistakes don't show up wearing new lingerie you swore you bought on sale. You didn't trip and fall into Matt, Alyssa. You made a choice. Her mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. Finally, she muttered, "You're heartless." No, I just stopped playing the fool. I grabbed my keys and left her standing there. At work later, I finally answered Matt. Not because I wanted to hear him out, but because part of me wanted to see just how pathetic his excuses could get. Why? Out of all the women in the world, why her? I don't know, man. We just connected. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to hurt me? You were literally inside my wife. What the hell did you think was going to happen? No response. That silence told me everything I needed. Matt wasn't sorry. He wasn't even ashamed. He just wanted me to pat him on the back and tell him it was okay. By the time I got home that night, Alyssa had moved from anger to fake tenderness. She tried cooking my favorite meal, wearing the perfume I used to compliment, playing house like nothing had happened. When I ignored it, she finally snapped. Why aren't you fighting for me? Because you're not worth fighting for. Her face fell. That broke her more than yelling ever could. And that was when I knew I had the upper hand. But having the upper hand wasn't enough. I wanted clarity. I wanted the truth, all of it. And I knew exactly how I was going to get it. I've always believed the truth doesn't need defending. It just needs uncovering. Alyssa thought she could control the story, make it seem like one slip-up, something I'd eventually forgive if she cried hard enough. But I wasn't interested in her version. I wanted the real one. So, I started digging. We were still sharing a phone plan, which meant I could see her call logs and text history. She had deleted the obvious stuff, but anyone who's ever cleaned up a mess knows you always miss a few crumbs. Buried between work contacts and family numbers was one she hadn't erased, strings of late-night calls to a number I didn't recognize. A quick search confirmed what I already knew: Matt's second phone. He must have thought he was clever keeping their conversations off his main line. Next, I checked our joint bank account. Alyssa rarely handled money. She always left it to me, which made her sloppy. 2 conference dinners, charged to restaurants nowhere near her office. A boutique hotel bill under her card, conveniently close to Matt's apartment. I screenshotted everything, emailed it to myself, and backed it up. Not because I planned to fight her for the house or drain her savings. I just wanted undeniable proof. Evidence for when she inevitably tried to spin it back on me. One night, while she was in the shower, I finally cracked her phone. Same passcode she'd always used, our anniversary date. She must have thought I'd never look, or maybe she was arrogant enough to think I wouldn't notice. Messages, photos, even voice notes. Little inside jokes about me. Plans to meet at the same bar where she and I had our first date. And one message from her that nearly made me laugh out loud. Don't worry, he'll never find out. He's too trusting. Too trusting. That's what she thought of me. When she came out of the bathroom, towel around her hair, she caught me sitting at the edge of the bed, calm as ever. She froze when she saw her phone in my hand. You should probably delete your messages next time, I said, tossing it onto the comforter. Her face drained. You went through my phone? I leaned back, arms crossed. I didn't have to. You basically left the evidence gift-wrapped. Her lips trembled, but instead of apologizing, she snapped. That's a violation. You had no right. I cut her off with a laugh. No right. You're lecturing me about boundaries after you've been screwing my best friend? Don't bother. She sat down hard, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. For the first time, she wasn't smirking. She looked scared. And honestly, I like that. Over the next few days, I kept my distance. I didn't scream, didn't accuse, didn't play into her little drama. I was polite, detached, almost friendly. The more I treated her like a roommate instead of a wife, the more unhinged she became. She tried cooking dinners, leaving notes on the counter, even reaching for me in bed. I let her efforts fall flat. The truth was, I'd already shifted gears. I wasn't the betrayed husband anymore. I was the man quietly preparing to walk away, leaving her and Matt holding the mess they'd made. But before I left, I wanted them both to feel it, to understand exactly what they'd thrown away. And for that, I needed one last conversation, not with her, with him. I wasn't going to let Matt slither away with half-baked excuses over text. He owed me a face-to-face. After everything we'd been through, the least he could do was look me in the eye while I dismantled whatever brotherhood we had left. I called him on a Wednesday night, just after work. My voice was steady, almost casual. Meet me at O'Malley's. 8 o'clock. He hesitated, then muttered, "Yeah, okay." O'Malley's wasn't anything fancy, just the old dive we used to haunt after high school football games. Sticky floors, neon signs buzzing, the smell of fryer oil soaked into the walls. The kind of place that held too many memories for both of us, which was exactly why I chose it. When I walked in, he was already there. Same booth in the corner we used to claim. He looked rough, hair messy, shirt wrinkled, that nervous twitch in his jaw he always got before a fight. Only this wasn't going to be a fight, not the way he thought. I slid into the booth across from him. Neither of us spoke for a minute. The waitress dropped off 2 beers without asking. She remembered us. Funny how the world keeps its rituals even when everything else is falling apart. Finally, he broke the silence. I messed up. I leaned back. Messed up? That's what you're calling it. He couldn't meet my eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. Over and over again. Don't insult me by pretending it was an accident. He shifted uncomfortably. We connected, man. She was lonely. I was. Stop. I slammed my hand against the table hard enough to rattle the glasses. Don't you dare try to make this about loneliness. You had every woman in this city to choose from, and you picked mine. His face twisted, somewhere between shame and defiance. I didn't plan it. It just happened. I laughed, low and sharp. You've been planning things with me since we were kids. Every prank, every road trip, every late-night run for cheap pizza. You're telling me this is the one thing you didn't plan? He looked up finally, eyes bloodshot. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I leaned in, voice cold. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry she opened her mouth before you figured out how to spin it. But you're not sorry for screwing my wife. He didn't argue, just sat there, shrinking smaller with every second. And in that moment, I felt something surprising. Not rage, not grief. Relief. Because I realized the man sitting across from me wasn't my best friend anymore. Hadn't been for a long time. I stood, dropped a 20 on the table for the beers we didn't drink. We're done, Matt. Don't call me. Don't come around. You made your choice. Live with it. As I walked out, he called after me, voice breaking. She doesn't even want me, man. She still wants you. I stopped at the door, turned just enough to let him see the grin on my face. Then you're both trash. She just figured out too late that I'm not the garbage man anymore. And with that, I left him sitting there in the booth, drowning in the wreckage he helped build. When I got home that night, Alyssa was waiting on the couch. Eyes red, tissues scattered around her like confetti. The performance was in full swing. She wanted sympathy. Instead, I dropped my keys on the counter, poured myself a drink, and sat down across from her. Calm, unmoved. Because after that night with Matt, I wasn't just done with him. I was done with her too. The night I came back from meeting Matt, Alyssa must have felt the shift in the air. She was perched on the couch, hair down, makeup smudged, tissues scattered across the coffee table. The picture of heartbreak, except her eyes gave her away. They weren't the eyes of someone broken by guilt. They were the eyes of someone terrified of losing power. She sniffled, voice cracking. I still love you. I took a slow sip of my drink. No, you don't. You love the comfort I gave you. The house, the stability, the certainty that no matter what game you played, I'd still be here. That's what you love. Her lip trembled. We can fix this. Please. I'll cut him off, delete everything. We can start fresh. I laughed, but not cruelly. Just the kind of laugh that comes from finally seeing through the smoke. You don't get it, Alyssa. There's no reset button. You set fire to what we had. And now you're just scared of standing in the ashes alone. She crossed the room, dropped to her knees in front of me, tears spilling down her cheeks. Don't do this. Don't throw us away. I looked down at her. The same woman who smirked across a dinner table and told me she'd slept with my best friend like it was some twisted test. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt nothing. No anger, no desire, no sympathy. Just clarity. You threw us away, I said flatly. She collapsed against the couch, sobbing into her hands. I let the silence stretch, finished my drink, and stood. I'll be moving my stuff into the guest room for now. Start thinking about where you're going to stay when this is over. That broke her. She grabbed my arm, voice shrill, desperate. So that's it. You're just giving up? After everything? I pulled free. No, I'm letting go. Big difference. Over the next week, her tactics shifted like clockwork. First came the apologies, whispered at night when she thought I might soften. Then the bargaining, promises of counseling, of rekindling the spark, of deleting every trace of Matt. When that failed, she pivoted to anger. You're pathetic, she hissed one night. You act all calm and collected, but deep down you're just scared. No real man lets his wife go that easy. I didn't even look up from my book. A real man doesn't chain himself to trash, Alyssa. He takes it to the curb and lets it be someone else's problem. That shut her up. By the end of the week, she tried one last angle, seduction. New lingerie, candlelit dinners, perfume heavy in the air. She even climbed into my bed one night, running her fingers over my chest like she used to. I rolled away. You don't get to touch me anymore. She froze, then slipped out of the room without another word. And just like that, the smirk that once made me question my own worth was gone, replaced by silence. Defeat. But I wasn't finished. See, walking away quietly might have been enough for some people. Not me. I wanted the last word. Not out of spite, but out of principle. So I planned my exit carefully. Papers in order, belongings packed, every detail lined up. And when the moment came, I was going to make sure Alyssa understood exactly why she lost me. Not because she cheated, but because she underestimated me. Saturday morning, the sun cut through the blinds like it was daring me to finish what I'd started. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. Alyssa was upstairs, probably rehearsing another performance in the mirror. I'd seen them all. The tears, the seduction, the rage. None of it worked. She still thought she had cards left to play. I'd already packed most of my things into boxes and stacked them in the garage. Important papers, clothes, tools, even my old guitar. Everything I cared about was in order. What I left behind wasn't mine anymore. Just pieces of a life that ended the second she smirked at me across that dinner table. She came downstairs just as I was slipping a folder onto the kitchen island. Divorce papers. Signed, dated, neat. Her face drained when she saw them. You're really doing this? I leaned back against the counter, arms folded. You thought I'd beg, didn't you? You thought I'd grovel, fight Matt, punch walls, cry in the driveway like some rejected high school kid. That's what you wanted. But instead, I'm giving you what you asked for. Freedom. You and Matt can have each other. He can carry the weight now. Me? I'm done. Her hands shook as she picked up the papers. I didn't think you'd just throw it away. I smirked. No, Alyssa. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm taking the trash out. Big difference. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she didn't have a comeback. The silence was almost satisfying. I grabbed my keys, my duffel bag, and walked toward the door. Just before stepping out, I paused. You wanted to know what I'd do when you told me about Matt. Here's your answer. Nothing. Because nothing is exactly what you are to me now. And with that, I walked out. The air outside felt different, like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally let it go. The driveway stretched ahead of me, the street quiet except for a couple of kids riding their bikes. Life kept moving, whether I carried Alyssa's betrayal or not. I loaded my things into the truck and sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel. Part of me expected a wave of grief to crash down. The memories, the years, the good moments tangled with the bad. But instead, all I felt was clarity. For the first time in a long time, I was free. Matt could have her smirks, her games, her endless tests. I didn't need to fight for scraps of affection anymore. I didn't need to prove my worth to someone who threw it away so easily. I started the engine, rolled down the street, and didn't look back. In the weeks that followed, people asked what happened. I didn't give them the full story, just a shrug and a simple line. Turns out some trash takes itself out. And every time I said it, I felt lighter. Because the truth is, healing isn't about pretending it never happened. It's about realizing you survived it, and that surviving is its own kind of victory. Alyssa thought her confession would break me. Instead, it freed me. And I'll never forget the look on her face when she realized the game was over, and I was already walking away. Bye-bye.